All right, guys, what is up, everybody? AJ here. I wanted to share with everybody the webinar that I've used over the last 3 or 4 years. The template that I've used to generate not only money for me, money for my clients, and also people who have bought my webinar course. So many people had asked me to just break the presentation out by itself because this is the bread and butter of what people are looking for. When you get people on your webinar, I think it's very important that you connect with them during your webinar, and then you can sell them your products that you have on the webinar to help them, accomplish the goals that they're trying to accomplish by signing up for your webinar. So what I did is I took my webinar template and I just broke it out into the template itself, and I thought I would go into detail about why each slide in the presentation is important and what goes on each slide that I use. Again, this has worked for me over and over and over again. I do modify it based on what I'm selling. But if you use this primary template, you should be good to go, and it will definitely help you sell your stuff. So let's get started with the title slide. So on the title slide, you want to have the name of your webinar. So in this particular case, how to create the perfect sales webinar. You can actually do a Google search for 101 blog titles, and it'll come up with more creative ways to come up with titles for your webinars and things like that, or just do a Google search for webinar titles, and it'll give you a whole bunch of options. But this is pretty simple and straightforward since I was just teaching you guys. Now, this slide is displayed during your welcome phase of the webinar. So as people are logging on, they should see your welcome slide. And what do you do while the welcome slide is up? Well, first thing you want to do is you want to welcome people to the webinar. You want to say, hey, what's up, Joe? See you're logging in. You want to ask them where they're logging in from. You want them to type their name in the chat window, and you also want them to type the reason why they're on the webinar. Why do you want to do that? Well, a couple different reasons. Number one, it gives you more content that you can talk about when you're teaching them, and it also allows you to customize your content to their business or their business type, okay? So if you know that you have someone that owns a hair salon on your webinar, then you can cater what you're talking about to a hair salon use case, okay? You also want to ask them, how they heard about the webinar, so that'll help you understand what marketing is working. Then you also, this is a ninja tactic. You want to ask them what is one thing that they can learn from you that will make their webinar 100% worthwhile. And most of the time, if you answer that one question, then hands down, they feel like they won by joining your webinar, okay? So that is the title slide. Let's move on. Now, this is something that is optional. If you are on social media using that to market your webinar, I usually use this as my house cleaning, and I basically explain, the rules of the road. And I tell them to follow me on social media. Typically, I'll say Instagram because I'm pretty active on there. And I will tell them the hashtag of today. And if I have a Facebook thread going on in my private coaching group and they're members of my coaching group, I'll have them comment on that thread. So again, if you're going to take questions live, you'll tell them like, hey guys, we're going to take questions live. We'll be answering questions here on the webinar. We'll also answer via social media. Do you want them to save their questions for a Q&A time period? I did a webinar with a client a few weeks ago, and she didn't want people interrupting her flow during the webinar. Some people do, some people don't. I'm more of a fly by the seat of your pants and answer on the fly kind of person. She wasn't. She was like, I'm going to have special sections where they can ask questions. So either way, if that works for you. So I still have some notes in here from when I did this in another presentation. So let's see, I'll take this out of here. Anyway, so yeah, this is where you want to let them know the rules of the road, okay? Next, you want to introduce yourself. Don't assume that everyone on the webinar knows who you are. So you want to introduce yourself. So how do you introduce yourself? Good question, guys. You want to introduce yourself by making it relevant and personal to what you're talking about today. And you want to be transparent, okay? So you want to tell them something personal about you. Tell them something dumb that you did when you were learning how to do the skill that you're teaching them, right? So I remember when I first started webinars, I didn't know what I was doing. So I would just get on the webinar and just teach, 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 teach. And I'll be like, all right, y'all, peace, right? So people were learning a lot, but I wasn't making any money, right? So that was one mistake that I made early on. Of course, I went on to learn how to correct that. And here we are today. Now I'm sharing with you how you can make money on your webinar. And again, you want to explain to them how you overcame that mistake. So I overcame it by paying $1,000. Well, I took multiple classes, okay? And in those multiple classes, I was able to learn how to sell for my webinar. You also want to share with them something amazing that you have accomplished. One thing amazing that I've accomplished, I've been on a webinar that had 1,000 people on it before, and we converted 200 of those, or 100 and some odd of those people into customers. It's pretty dope. And then you want to talk to them about why you're the right person to take the charge, or why you're the person that's there teaching the webinar. So I feel like I'm qualified to teach this webinar because I've done thousands of them, okay? I've had hundreds of, or at least tens of thousands. Has it been hundreds of thousands? I would at least say tens of thousands of people have attended webinars that I have either led or facilitated or been a part of, okay? Been a part of production. So you want to have a picture of you. It can be a personal picture. It can be a picture of you at an event or standing next to an influencer or whatever it is that will be resonate with your people that are on the webinar. Cool. Let's keep it pushing. Now you want to talk about your experience. And in my experience, I've worked with people who are who have accomplished a lot of different things, and you'll see here Emmy Award-winning talk show hosts, record label executives. Uh-oh, lost my spot. You know, radio personalities, TV personalities. So you want to share the experience that you've had that supports what you just told them, right? You just said, I am your person. On this slide, you are shoring up what you just told them, okay? Now, you want to summarize why you're doing this. So the reason I do this, number one, is because I made so many mistakes when I first started doing webinars, and I summarized it in this slide, in this presentation saying, oh, I just didn't know how to sell. I did that for months. So I don't want to just brush over that like it was something that happened one time. I did that for months before I figured out, like, hey, I need to go and either invest in some training or I'm going to keep getting these same results, okay? So I want people to learn from my mistakes. So you want to tell them that, right? This will also, for those of you who have invested in this course, it's going to save you a lot of time. And then you'll get to make money more quickly by taking this. So you want to tell them the reasons that you're doing this and give them a few reasons why. Now, here's another thing that I want you guys to pay attention to. These slides, when I typically go through the webinar, I only have one bullet point per slide. So this slide would actually be 4 different slides. The first one would show this part, the second one would show this, the next one would show this, and then the final slide would show this. What that does is it keeps people's attention on what you're talking about, right? Because what will happen is, and I've seen this over and over again, if you have all your bullet points on the slide, people will read your bullet point and then they will get back on Instagram and start doing whatever they're doing, okay? So I try to make it a point to do 1 bullet point per slide. Same thing here. This would be 3 slides in essence, maybe even 4. So I would have probably this title as the first slide, and I have it designed real fancy. Then the next slide will be the title plus this, and so forth and so on until we got through all the points. Attention grabber. So this is where you're going to say, okay, guys, here's what I'm going to show you, and here's one thing that you should pay attention to. And this statistic came out in 2015. Online learning and webinars and online education hit $107 billion, or actually this statistic was in 2016, but $107 billion were generated in online education, right? So what is it that is a statistic about your industry that's going to jump out and catch their attention and make them say, wow, and then see the potential that they have if they listen to you? So this is my attention grabber slide. You want to put something that's going to be compelling and it's going to grab their attention. Then you go into what are you going to teach them? What is your promise? So, you know, I'm going to teach you how I made $5,342 on one webinar without teaching a thing, right? So Again, this is actually true. I did a profit share with someone who was an influencer. I didn't teach a thing. I created the webinar, I created the course. They did all the teaching, and they sold on the webinar. Now, I did coach them through that process. So my percentage on that webinar was $5,000. Pretty simple. Then you want to give them your agenda. So you want to kind of say, here's what we're going to talk about over the next 45 minutes or so, right? So I'm going to talk to you about, what you'll learn today, why most people fail, what doesn't work in the industry. And then I'm going to teach you 3 pieces of content. And then at the end, you want to stick around because I'm going to give you all a free bonus, but it's only for the people who stick around at the end. And I have a special offer for this at the very end of this that's going to help you level up, okay? So again, you talk about the benefits of your webinar. So instead of saying how to make money online, you want to say how to make $200 per hour for every webinar that you do, right? You want to let them know that you're going to teach them and let them know that you are selling something. So when you get to the end of the webinar, you will say, hey guys, at the beginning, I told you that I had a special offer at the end of the webinar. Well, here it is, right? So just let them know that you have something to teach them, and then it won't get awkward at the end when you're trying to sell something. Then you want to show them what's not working in the industry, because chances are a lot of the people who are on your webinar have tried some things and they're not seeing the success that they want, and that's why they're paying attention to you, okay? So here's why, most webinars are bad. A bunch of fluff, and they lead you on and on and on, and they don't give you any real step-by-step training. That happens a lot. So you'll get on a webinar, and a person will just go wax poetic about who they are and what they do and how they're a celebrity and how they made money and yada, yada, yada. Then at the end, they'll say, if you want to make money like me, then you need to do X, Y, Z, right? But they haven't really taught you anything. So I think that's a bad thing. And then sometimes they'll just keep putting it off and say, oh, we're going to get to the good stuff in a minute. But before we get there, let me tell you this. And they never get there. And then some of them are hours and hours long, and they get really, really boring, okay? So you want to talk about what's not working in your industry. And you want to say, this is why my webinar is different, or why my training is better. And you want to contrast what you're doing against what they have experienced and what isn't working. So this example that I'm giving you is, this webinar is different because I'm not going to drag on and on and on about a bunch of slides that don't mean anything. I'm going to lead you. Not going to lead you on and on about something that doesn't work and ask you to pay for something at the end. And I'm not going to teach you things that you can't do right away, right? So I'm not going to teach you something that you got to buy 4 more trainings before you can actually implement it. That's not really a benefit to you, okay? So you want to talk about what are the reasons that your webinar or your training is different, okay? Wait a minute. Oh man, are you kidding me? Hey, what's going on, guys? AJ here. I wanted to go ahead and break this training down because people have been asking and asking and asking, and I had a bigger training that included a lot of other facets of webinars, landing pages, and email sequences, and all those other very important parts of webinars. But what people ask for the most is, how can I make a presentation that converts? How can I give a presentation? And here's a bonus that you guys are going to get from this. You can use this exact same presentation when you're in front of an audience selling or just giving a speech. Okay, so you get a 2-fold bonus by joining this training today. So glad you guys decided to join. So what I want to talk about here is the webinar presentation that I've used to generate thousands of dollars, not only for me, but for my clients as well. And I'm going to break down what goes on each slide and why, okay? So if you pay attention here, and you have the recording now, so you can watch it whenever you want. But what I want to talk about is what goes on each slide and why. So this is the title slide, ladies and gentlemen. My title is How to Create the Perfect Sales Webinar. You can do a Google search for webinar topics and webinar subject lines or webinar titles, and it will give you a plethora of options. Just go on Google and search the perfect webinars subject line, and it'll give you thousands and thousands of options. So mine is How to Create the Perfect Sales Webinar, and I just did that to put something there because you guys are already here on the training. So this slide is displayed while people are logging into your webinar. And while this slide is displayed, you want to talk to your attendees. You want to talk to them about where they're from. You want them to type their name in the chat window. You want to ask them how they heard about the webinar. It's very important. Number one, people love to be engaged on webinars. And once you hear where they're from, then maybe that can spark up other conversations that you can have with them prior to the starting of the webinar. So I'm from Louisiana. I typically get at least one person from a webinar that's from Louisiana. So we can talk about how awesome the New Orleans Saints are going to be this year, right? Also, you want to ask them to type one thing that they want to learn on the webinar so that you can fold that into the training that you're going to do today, okay? And you can also address it during an ad lib or Q&A session, okay? The next slide is, see if we can move it forward, house cleaning, house cleaning. Now, this is optional, but I love this because it tells the rules of the road, okay? I typically say, hey guys, follow me on social media. I am AJ Joyner on Instagram. I will share the hashtag of the day, and I will, if I'm using a Facebook thread to track comments, I will track the comments in the Facebook thread, okay? So this is where, you know, you tell them to go follow you. If you're going to take questions live, you tell them that as well. If you have a predetermined Q&A session, you tell them like, hey guys, we have a predetermined Q&A session. We're going to stop in a few minutes and answer your questions. Just let them know, okay? You also, again, you want to share the hashtag. Now, this is your introduction slide. This is where you share your story and you tell them why you are the expert. Note, this must be transparent and relevant to what you're teaching, okay? You want to share something personal about you. Share something dumb that you did when you first started doing what you're teaching them how to do. And an example of that with me is I was teaching webinars. I probably taught for 4 or 5 months before I even figured out how to sell anything, okay? But I was determined to do it. So I would just go on and on and on and on and teach, get to the end of the webinar and be like, all right, guys, good night. Thank you. Peace. And then I'd be like, man, I didn't sell anything. Nobody bought anything because I didn't know how to do that, okay? So talk about a mistake that you've made in what you're teaching them so that they don't have to make that same mistake. Then you want to share with them something amazing that you've accomplished, right? So tell them something amazing, and that will help solidify why you're the right person to take the lead on teaching them. Also, you want to include a picture of you, and sometimes you can include a picture of you doing something that's relevant to what you're teaching. So if you're teaching about public speaking, maybe you have a picture of you on stage. If you're teaching about ways to do makeup, maybe you have a picture of yourself applying makeup, okay? If you have pictures of you talking about clients, you will want to have that here as well. Now, this is the supporting slide to the previous slide. So you talked about your experience. Now you break that out and say, you know, here are some examples of things that I've done to support what I just talked about. So me and my webinars, I've done webinars for all types of people, a lot of people in the entertainment industry, you know, TV and entertainment, that's cool. And another thing, guys, you want to have one image or one subject per slide, and you want to build on each other. So if this were a actual presentation I was doing, this would actually be 5 slides, right? So on the first slide, I would just have, I work with influencers in radio, TV, music, and film. And then I just have a picture in the background of a bunch of people on maybe TV or radio, something like that. Then on the next slide, I would have this as the title, work with influencers in radio, TV, music, and film. And I would only have this section. Then I tell you a story about them. And then I go to this one, I tell you a story about Shanti, and I will go on and tell you a story about Ebony, and then I go on and tell you a story about Trish, right? So each one of these would be its own slide. So the first slide would just have this, the second one would have these 2, the third slide would have the 3 of these, and then the fourth one would have all 4, and you would end up with this slide. Summarize your why. Why are you here? Why do you do what you do? Why are you teaching people? My why is, you know, I made so many mistakes early on doing webinars that I decided I was gonna, once I learned how to do it, I would share it with other people, right? To help people learn from my mistakes. Then I would say, you know, it saves people time, and I help people make money more quickly than I did, right? So why are you the person? Next slide is your attention grabber. What is that thing that you're going to say that's going to really grab their attention and make them pay attention to you for the next hour or 45 minutes or however long you're going to be on here? And this is one that I've used. Learning online, and that's webinars and online education, hit $107 billion in 2015. It's pretty damn incredible, right? It's from Forbes magazine. So what is that statistic about your industry that's going to make people say, oh, crap, I really got to pay attention to this? What are you going to teach them? So you want to tell them, you know, a compelling statement or bold promise. What are you promising people? On today's training, I'm going to show you how to make $5,342 on one webinar without teaching a single thing. So yes, this is true. Profit share that I did where I didn't actually sell anything, I was in this, did a split. I taught the influencer all the stuff that they were going to share. They sold it, and my percentage was this. So what is your promise? Then you want to give them an agenda. What are you going to teach them today? You're going to tell them why most people fail, and then you're going to contrast that with why they won't fail if they listen to you. Then you're going to share with them 3 pieces of content that support why they won't fail. Then you're going to give them a free bonus, and you always want to say, hey guys, there's a free bonus at the end. If you stick around, it is all yours. Again, you just tell them there's a special offer at the end that will help them level up. And then you talk about the benefits, right, more than you do the stuff. So instead of saying how to make money online, you want to say, how can you make $200 per webinar that you do? Possibly you want to time box it. So how to make $200 within an hour of your first webinar, okay? You want to let them know what you're going to teach them, and then you want to have a freebie. I've already reviewed that. And then you want to say, and at the end of this, guys, I have something very, 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 very special. And if you are interested, I want you to stay around. It's going to be very helpful for you, and it'll help you level up your game, okay? Then you want to talk about what is not working. What is not working in the industry? So, you know, most webinars are bad. A bunch of people, they're selling a bunch of fluff, and they go on and on and on and on and on, and then you never really learn anything, okay? So, you know, and people will say, I'll keep telling you, I'm going to get to the good stuff, I'm going to get to the good stuff, but they never get there, okay? And this is where you can say, hey, this is what's actually working in the industry, okay? So tell them what's not working, and then you're going to juxtapose that against what is actually working and why you're the person who's going to be teaching them. So for me, I know what's not working, and I know it is working, right? So why am I different? Because I don't drag on and on about a bunch of stuff that has no relevance to what we're talking about. And I'm not going to lead you on about something that doesn't work and ask you at the end to pay for it. And I'm not going to teach you things that you can't achieve right away. So I'm not going to give you a training that requires you to take another training before you can actually benefit, okay? Now, you want to engage your audience, okay? So what you want to do is, after you get ready, before you get into your content, you want to say, all right, guys, so I told you what's working, I told you what's not working. Are you guys ready to rock and roll? You want to get them fired up and get them typing yes in the chat window. So what this does is this creates what's called a yes ladder. It gets them saying yes, and psychologically, if you can get them saying yes earlier, the probability of them buying from you goes up, okay? And this is so simple, like, I'm serious, like, it makes them want to buy at the end of it, okay? So make sure you do things to get them excited. So here's where you give them the first piece of content. You give them some content from your course. If you already have a course that you're going to be teaching them, here's where you show them that content. And you say, look, guys, I know, you know, you're going to be interested in this. So, you know, here you teach them, like really teach them and tell them the details. Tell them stories about, you know, when you experience this stuff, okay? I have tested it both ways. And it works. So I am a fan of giving them a little bit of the how. So some people say you teach the what and you sell the how. Well, I teach the what and I teach a little bit of the how too, because I want people to get results. Some people don't, but I'm cut from a different cloth, I guess, as it relates to that. You go into your second piece of content. So again, if you have a 12-module program, you will teach, you know, maybe one from module 1, and then one part from module 4, and then maybe one part from module 7, right? Because all 3 of those are going to help move them down the line, okay? Your goal is to get them close to the yes, or as close as possible to the result, and then let them know that you are going to help them get the result, okay? The third piece of content should be the most impactful. So again, if you want to teach this in order of impact. You go the second most impactful piece of content, you teach that first. The third most impactful piece of content, you stick that in the middle, and the absolute most impactful piece of content, that is what you end with. Okay. Now you're saying, okay, guys, was this helpful? Did you learn a lot? How did you feel about this presentation? You get them excited. You start taking their questions. You want them to share any aha moments. And you should also have a list of questions on the side, just in case you don't get feedback from the audience, so you don't have to deal with that awkward silence when people don't have questions. Okay. Then you break it down. So guys, look, here's what I've taught you so far on the webinar. I taught you, what works and what doesn't work. I taught you, point number 2. I've taught you point number 3. All right, so you want to recap that. Then you want to transition to the sales. You want to transition to the sale, I mean. So do you think you can achieve success with what you've learned today? And you get them to say yes, 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 right? Again, you want to get them to that yes. And then you want to throw back to that initial slide, right? And get them back on that yes ladder. Again, I'm not following that format right now because I'm actually teaching you how to do it, not selling you anything. So I don't have an offer, so I don't have to do that, okay? And then you get them saying, would you agree that today's been time well spent, right? Get them saying yes. And then can you see how this will change your business? And if they can, you want them to give examples and type it in the chat window. Do you want to learn more? All right. So then you let them know, hey, I have a special offer so you can get everything that you need to know. And if you act fast, I'm going to give you something very special. So that's that bonus that you're going to give them for them to take action today, okay? So then you go into your course. All right, guys, so for those of you who are interested, here's what I'm teaching. All right, I'm going to teach my course. The course is amazing. The value is $29.97. I have coaching. And my coaching is amazing because of these 3 reasons, and these are the results that I've gotten other people. And you want to tell stories about every single thing that you introduce, okay? You want to say, listen, I also have VIP calls that you're going to get, and I have a private group that you're going to get access to. And again, each one you want to talk about what's amazing. Then bonuses are optional, but I would always recommend doing a bonus, okay? So bonus 1, it is a $4.97 value, or you talk about what is the value of your bonus, okay? If it's something that you sell, you list your bonus and you list that value. And they call this bonus stacking. So if you have a second bonus, you want to talk about that bonus and why that's of value and how much that value is, okay? Then you want to talk about what they're going to get. So you're going to get the course, amazing, amazing course. You're going to get the coaching. You're going to get VIP calls and talk about the value of each one. You're going to get a private group. You're going to get bonus number 1 and bonus number 2. And they are all amazing. And the total value of this course is whatever that total value of the course is, okay? So again, you want to 10x the value. So if you're doing something and you know that if someone else were to sell that, or if you were to sell that, then it's, $3,000, $4,000. You want to give it to them at $300, okay? Now, you want to talk about the people who have had the types of success with your course that you're teaching, or with whatever it is that you're teaching. What type of professionals is it targeted for, right? Is it something for general market? Is it something that works well with, in my case, fitness coaches, life coaches, influencers, influencers or experts, authors, right? So who is your training for? Then you want to dive into your testimonials. Hey, I worked with AJ, and you want to have pictures of him. He was amazing. He was awesome. We did great things together. We made a lot of money together. Testimonials always, always, always add credibility. And I forgot to mention this here. You want to add your sign-up link. You want to add the sign-up link right here so that people can go sign up for your course, okay? They'll be on your site. Your site should have other things, and this course is not about the site, so I won't go into what goes on your sales page. But you want to have the opportunity for them to do that. You want to stack testimonials here. Again, every testimonial that you share adds more credibility, right? Then you want to do another recap, okay? So you want to recap the course, recap the bonus, and you want to say, okay, the price is total $7,600 and whatever, and today's price is $997. And if you want to have it up until midnight, which I would recommend doing a time time release so that it's not going on forever, because if it is time, that adds, people, it adds urgency and people react to urgency. So if you're going to take it away from them, they will buy, if only for fear of missing out. Okay. If you have a guarantee, do a 30-day back guarantee, because guarantees are very helpful, because if people feel like you're willing to guarantee their money, then they'll take that risk. Okay. I've done the guarantee. I've only had 2 people ever ask for their money back. One person had a bereavement. Actually, both people, and that's a funny thing that I think that's actually an excuse that people use. But I've had 2 people that had people pass away and they needed their money back after they got the course. Whatever, no harm, no foul, right? If you don't want to give one, don't, but it increases your chance of selling if you do. Okay. Now, after you're selling, you should have another window up on your computer where people are logging in and paying via PayPal. And as people go in, you want to welcome, hey, welcome, Joseph. Welcome to the course. You'll be getting an email confirmation and you'll be added to the group here shortly. Welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for signing up, Mary. Mary is taking that next step to make her life better, right? So you want to have your welcome party. Publicly welcome, thank them for taking action. And people are going to have questions about times and dates, et cetera, what to do next. Make sure you have all that stuff handy so that you can answer those questions. Also, you want to welcome people to your course, your service, or product. Okay, so you're going to be welcoming people. Ask people questions. Like, this is one thing I do. If people didn't sign up, I ask them. So I have about 6 more people on the call out of the 25. Only 6 people are left who didn't sign up. I want to know why you're not signing up today. What is it? Have you figured it out over the course of this training? Is the price too high? What is the reason that you're not signing up? And you want to get their honest feedback, okay? So is it the price? Do you not have enough time? Are there other questions that you have? And I also, and this is another thing, depending on the amount of attendees, I'll offer a free 15-minute call for people who are interested but couldn't do it today. Okay, that just gives you another opportunity to break down those barriers. Then you do your final recap. All right, guys, this has been amazing. And here's what we talked about today. Here's the final recap of my course. I really enjoyed it. You talk about your benefits here, the total value. You tell them, okay, thank you guys for joining. For everybody who signed up, I'm really excited to get started, and we'll be talking to you in a minute. You recap everything, and then that's it. You tell them, look, hey, this is it. Thank you guys so much. Click the button below, go over to the sign up page. You have until midnight tonight. If you have any other questions, send me an email. They will send you emails. They will send you questions, and you tell them where to find you. Now, another ninja tactic that I would sometimes do is I will get an export from my webinar platform, and I will send a personal email to each person that didn't purchase, and I'll say, hey, you want to jump on a call, hey, let's do it. Or I'll say, thank you for joining. I know you didn't join the call today, so I still want to help you out. So how can we get on the call? Because you can close a lot higher in person, okay? So that is the end of the training today, guys. So I know this has worked for me. I'm guarantee that it's going to work for you. So if you have any questions, hit me up on AJ Joyner on Instagram, and I will answer your questions. All right, guys,